Hello. Hi, everybody. What's up? Thank you for that. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Now, back to school season is here. It's happening. It's right now. And we here at Build have been taking a little moment each week to help get you ready for the year ahead. Now, last week, I chatted with some small space experts about how to make your dorm room your own. This week, I'm joined by adolescent medicine expert Dr. Karen Latimer and New York University staff social worker John Fredrickson. We're going to talk all about tips for practicing self-care, both mentally and physically. Ladies and gentlemen, please an uproarious and ridiculous round of applause for your experts right here. Make some noise. Come on. Thank you, first and foremost, so much to both of you for taking time out to come here and hang out with us and have this conversation today. I'm so excited you're both here. It means a lot. How are you guys doing? How's your summer going? You having a good summer?
Love the summer. Hate back to school. Love the summer.
Yes, you're saying back to school time, and I was thinking already, so yeah, it's...
I mean, as soon as July 5th hits, it's back to school. That's it. People, the discounts start, and that's it. It is game time. What does that look like for you? As you prepare for a new year, what does back to school look like on your side when you get ready for a new bunch of students, fresh faces?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just kind of battening down the hatches. We're getting ready for orientation, welcoming students from literally all over the world to come to campus. So it's a really exciting time.
Yeah. Do you guys change? Do you have to? You kind of have it, I'm sure, down to a fine science at this point. But do you change it from year to year? Update certain things? Look for areas to improve, change things up? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have kind of traditional things we do every year that are sort of favorites that have become traditions, but we always take feedback from students. So, depending on what the students are enjoying, sometimes they want more of something, less of something, so we're always kind of incorporating student needs into what we're doing,
Very cool. And Dr. Latimer, on your side, as I've just learned, your daughter is getting ready to go off to college.
She is, yep.
That must be both exciting and terrible all at once for you. Like, very sad.
Exciting for her, terrible for me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, exciting and terrible. It's, scary and wonderful. It's time.
Yeah, all those
she's
things.
She's ready, yep.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Not at all. Not even a little.
That's going to be the next talk. We'll do this one. We'll talk about their mental health and
Parents'
preparation.
mental health,
and then parent mental health. That'll be next week.
Group session.
You probably get a lot of that too, I bet.
Oh, yes.
I'm sure you get plenty of phone calls.
Do you guys really? Do the parents call in and talk to you as well?
It depends,
Can they? Is that a...
So everything that I work with students is protected by confidentiality laws. So, what students I talk about is completely protected, unless, of course, they give consent. If they give consent, we will definitely speak with parents, but we cannot just sort of randomly answer a phone and divulge information about the students to anyone close.
Have you ever had a student go like, you need to talk to my mom? Like, have they told you that you need to talk to them? Has that ever happened?
You know what? It does come up now and then, but not terribly often. But yeah, sometimes a student will ask to.
One of the things, before we dive into the tips and tricks, I'm curious, when we were talking about dorm spaces last week, I don't know why, I shouldn't have been surprised, but one of our experts, he revealed that when he was in college, he hand-sewn a lot of the cushions within his dorm room. And of course, here he is now, this amazing designer. He works in New York City. Shouldn't be surprised to see that, but it was cool to hear. It's almost like, the Batman Begins. You hear the origin story. Do you guys, when you think back to your times in school, would you say that you practiced, like you took care of yourself really well, that you were cognizant of your mental health, your physical health, or were you kind of just going crazy, having the time of your life? What were you doing? How would you rate yourself in
Are
your
we
performance?
being honest?
So yes, we are. It's
okay.
the internet.
All right, well, then I
Place of
can say
honesty.
what I want to say. No, I think I went to college guns blazing, ready to get out of my house, have no curfew, party. Did fine academically, managed to hold it together, but it certainly was not a time of health and well-being for me. It was a time of partying and late nights and sicknesses, and I wasn't even in medical school. I just wanted to go to medical school, and my roommates would come to me with all of their medical problems, and I knew nothing.
You just wanted to go.
I had taken
look at this rash.
I had taken one organic chemistry class, and everyone's like, Karen will look at it. She wants to be a doctor. And that was enough for people. And they would come and I would say something like, oh, sore throat. Shot of vodka would kill all of the bacteria in that throat, and you'll be fine. Let's go out. It was terrible. No, we were not taking care of ourselves at all, and I hope the next generation is doing a better job because it was really a time of an unhealthy time for us.
Right. What about?
I would definitely echo that. I mean, I think self-care is so much more of a thing that people are talking about these days. I mean, when I was in college, that was the last thing on our minds. Was, you're up late, you're partying, you're doing all sorts of things. But your body will tell you. I distinctly remember there were moments in college where I was like, oh my God, like I actually need to sleep if I'm going to
To
function.
go home.
Yeah, I need to eat food if I'm going to, be tolerable. So I think I sort of learned my boundaries by pushing them, and it sort of like kind of pushed back to me a little bit when I was in college.
I think you raise a good point. I think people are a lot more aware of it now. I remember even as, I don't know, was it 13 years ago or something, when I was a senior in high school, we had like orientation day for seniors. It was like a day, there was a bunch of workshops, and we can go learn kind of about what we could expect from the year ahead. And there wasn't really anything in the way of mental health. Maybe time management was the most they talked to, but there was nothing about taking care of yourself mentally. I remember too, this is a silly story, quick side story here, that I signed up for how to avoid the freshman 15. Now, at the time, I was like, me and my friend were like, oh, that's got to be the 15 things you need to know when you get to college. Like, this is like, don't overload your classes, and we're going to learn the 15 things. I would then discover, no, it's about watching your weight. I had no idea. I had never heard of it to that point. Is that is the freshman 15 a real thing? Is it something magazines kind of invented, like a marketing term? What do you, in your experience, do college students go through that?
Yes, and I think mostly girls, I would say, if you agree. And they're so worried about it. I think what we're seeing now more, and this is sad in a whole nother way to me, is girls coming home with eating disorders and are too thin.
Oh, jeez.
They're coming home. The social media and the compare and despair and everything is really leading to you have people gaining a lot of weight on one end because for the first time in their lives they're taking control of their own nutrition, and they've always been able to come home and have a good meal, and now they make all their own decisions. Beer, alcohol, obviously lots of calories. And then on the other side of it, you have a lot of young women coming home, and they, have really lost a lot of weight, and their parents are kind of shocked on the other side of things.
Wow.
Like, well, yeah, and I think it's just a manifestation of the anxiety and the need to really take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's wild. One of the things that I also heard in talking to, I followed up with one of our student panelists, and I was like, "What's something not that you want me to ask her, something that you wish you knew when you're going in?" And she wasn't aware of the services available at the school at the time, and so I was like, "Well, then this is worth it alone, just to make people aware." John, how often do you run into that where people don't even know that you're there for them?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, less and less. Like as the years go on, we really try to put it out there that we are available and how to access us. That said, every single year, I undoubtedly will get a student that comes to my office that says, "I just found out about you because I spoke with a professor, or I spoke with an advisor, sort of suggested that you use this service." So, while we do make very strong efforts to get our names out there, I think that it is something that a lot of students aren't aware of. And I can't speak for every university in the U.S., but most, if not all, have some form of mental health related support, either on campus or if not directly on campus, there are resources that they can connect you to off campus as well.
Yeah. Would you say, going back for a second to the nutritional side of things, I feel like Easy Mac and ramen and Top Ramen, those are staples because dirt cheap and really easy. Have you guys, do you see that market growing or expanding? Are there ways that they can eat healthy without sacrificing a ton of money, or vice versa? Is there cheap ways they can eat without sacrificing personal health?
Well, even the colleges now, and I learned this looking at colleges with my daughter more than anything else, they offer so much more than they used to offer. I feel like we had a salad bar, but it was wilted sad lettuce and kind of old tomatoes. But now there's smoothie bars, and there are beautiful salad bars, and there really are a lot of options on campus if they can take advantage of their food plans and, and kids just seem to know a lot more about nutrition. So while I think, lots are still turning to the easy, quick fixes, especially late at night, you're studying, you're just home from a party, whatever it may be, there are better choices out there. So they are kind of given the tools to do the right thing, health, nutrition-wise, if they want to.
What's an easy way to fold in time to take care of yourself? One of the things, talking about time management, I was talking to same student that one of the big problems they see, class overload, is that they'll try to take on and max out all of their credits and try to take as much as they can, and they have to work on top of that. And now we're saying, well, you have to take care of yourself. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. You have to do all these things. What's the tip? How can they manage all of that time? How can they balance all those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think you make such a good point. I think we live at a time where, with the devices we have, I mean, our attention is our biggest luxury right now. I think that it's something that is always being consumed. And I think it's so easy to sort of fall into the trap of believing that you don't have time to care for yourself. Something I think is so simple that we all have access to is our breath. And I think just kind of taking moments throughout the day to just just have a breath, and it sounds so small, but it's one of those things. I'll talk to students all the time, set a reminder on your phone, morning, midday, late in the evening before you go to bed, and just check in with yourself, ask yourself, what am I feeling? What's going on in my body? What thoughts am I having? And it takes almost no time at all, and it can really make a big difference in just kind of increasing your self-awareness of not only what's going on with you, but also, what you might need in that moment, which, can make a huge difference over time.
When they talk about like overloading their schedule and stuff like that, is it okay to not do that? Is that that's obviously a personal decision they have to make, but like I think a lot of people feel like they'll be considered a failure for not taking the maximum amount of credits and stuff like that. Is it smart to take what's right for you and figure out what your load is? How do you figure that out?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where everyone is so individualized, right? You really have to sort of pay attention to what your needs are, and I think that sometimes, we have these narratives that we tell ourselves about if I don't do X, if I don't do Y, then I'm going to fail, or I'm not going to do well enough. And so I think it's one of those things that to really take inventory of those thoughts and to challenge them a bit. Is that actually true? Is it okay if I do it this way? And if you find that you are feeling overwhelmed, there's no shame in taking a step back. Yeah.
And there are restrictions too, just, logistics, financially. I really want my kids to all graduate in 4 years because I want to retire at some point. So it's, you have to take the amount of credits you have to take. Yep. So a lot of it is, like you said, time management. And the flip side is, and you might see this, John, I hear from college kids that they do overload their schedules and everything, but they waste so much time because in high school it's also structured, right? Especially freshmen, like they wake up, they go, they have to be a class, and that organizes their day. Here they have all this free time, so you put it off, you procrastinate, and all of that. So there probably are enough hours in the day. It's a matter of prioritizing what's important to you, like knowing what your goals are and being very clear about those and saying, well, it's important for me to do well in school and it's important for me to take care of myself.
And these sound like conversations you've had already, are they?
I have.
Yeah. Well, no, it's important to point out because, not just students, but a lot of parents watching as well is like, how do I approach it? How do I talk to them about this? And I think that's a really important conversation to have for the two of you to come to an understanding of, I want you to take this many credits. If you can't, this is what we want you to do. If you want to graduate by X date, then this is what we have to do, and we have to figure that out. I think that can go a long way to changing how that pressure feels necessarily. If rather it's self-imposed or rather I'm a failure if I don't do it. It's like, no, this is just what this process demands.
And realistic expectations are so important, right, from parents and from the kids, and managing your expectations. We also have this sort of, I don't know if it's a problem in society, but it feels like one, where college is the be-all and the end-all. College is the best 4 years of your life. You have to get into the best school you can get into. Your parents want to put that bumper sticker on the back of their car. And, we all want to be so proud. And then kids get there and like, oh, like crap, I have to study and work and make new friends and be on my own. And this isn't utopia. What was everyone talking about? Right. And I say to kids, I'm like, listen, if college is the best 4 years of your life, that's a pretty sad life. It can't stop at 22. Like, it never gets better from 22, sleeping in a dorm room. And it's wonderful. It's a great experience. It's amazing. It's a time you can learn. It's a time you're only with your peers, no old people, no young people. It's awesome. But it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's not going to be perfect. Right. And managing those expectations, you might not get all A's. You might not have the 4.0, even if you did in high school, and that's okay. Starting there, I'd rather you, to my child, I would say, no, I'd rather you just get through this class, do the best you can do, and then you can readjust for next year and think about it next year.
That's a really good point. The expectations thing is huge. John, how would you categorize the importance of not just putting yourself out there and being social, but being open to the idea of not just failure, but being uncomfortable, maybe doing a thing that you wouldn't normally do at school, hanging out with people that you wouldn't normally hang out, allowing yourself to be in those positions and feel that way. And that's okay, that's good, because that's how you figure out who you are. Is that something that you see a lot of? Do you encourage that? Do you talk about that at all?
No, totally, yeah. I think it's one of those things where, going back to what Karen was saying about expectations, I think if we expect to go through life, and especially college, without any hardship or challenges or difficulties, we're setting ourselves up for failure in many ways. So, it is totally okay to feel uncomfortable in social situations, and kind of pushing yourself a little bit to kind of get out there and to engage socially, I think can be extraordinarily important, especially when you're first trying to build a community. College is scary. I think it's, going to school is extraordinarily exciting. It's a new environment, it's a new context. For a lot of students, it's the first time living away from their families. But it's also can be a really scary time as well. But what I will say is, almost every student I speak with has fears around that. So whether they're expressing them to you or not, you're not alone with those feelings. You know, that is a universal experience of college students. Coming to school is scary. And so I think that just kind of understanding that in and of itself can sort of like take away some of those nerves. You know, you're not sitting in that boat alone.
Talking about those things that are universal, is there something that you get a lot of that universally is the most surprising or unexpected thing? Something that they did not see coming, that you hear a lot of, that they didn't expect this to be that way, or so on and so forth, something that they're surprised by?
You know, what I hear a lot of is that students are oftentimes surprised at how difficult it is to just kind of like take care of yourself and like the basic functions. I sort of like say it's kind of back to basics. You know, eating, sleeping, and getting exercise are three things that have extraordinary effects on our mental health and on our mood. And they're sometimes the hardest things to actually build a routine around. I went to NYU as an undergrad. Let me tell you, being 18 in New York City, I was from Nebraska originally. Sleep was like the last thing on my mind, you know. And it's like, oh, I'll stay up an hour later, or I'll sleep when I was dead, is what I'd always say, you know. And you know, these are the things that are actually, if you're neglecting these things, are ultimately going to lead to your downfall later on. So one thing that I hear a lot of students say that surprises them is like the basics of life is, you know, sleeping, eating, working out, getting exercise are sometimes the hardest things to sort of fit in.
Do you have a way or like an idea of like a great way to like jumpstart maybe someone that hasn't traditionally been super active their whole life, and now it's the onus is on them to do it, and like this is the time that you'll start, you know, one, you'll reap the most benefits from it, but also two, that you'll feel it if you don't. Is there like tips or ways to kickstart that routine and get that started?
Yeah, and I love what John says, because the basics is everything, right? The sleeping, the exercise, that's all the most important stuff. It's also simple, but it can be, like you said, so hard when you get to college, especially if you've never exercised or done anything like that before. The number one thing to do is find something that you like. Because your roommate likes it doesn't mean that you're going to like it. Because your friends from home like running doesn't mean you're going to like running.
Right.
More than anything, I mean, the fitness centers at a lot of these college campuses are unbelievable. They offer classes. There's so much more. There are groups. There's hiking. There, you know, go explore the new city that you're in. Take long walks. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be traditional. You know, so you're not into, you know, intramural volleyball. There's a million other things that you could do. Yeah. Find something that you like, because it is unsustainable to continue to do something that you don't enjoy doing and you don't like. Yet if you find something that you love and you can add some social to it, and it could be like I said, a hiking club or something like that, that's going to make all the difference. You're going to want to do it. And that's the same for adults and you know, kids and everyone. You know, if you like it, you'll do it.
Yeah. Right. It should be fun, right? So like if you don't like it, then yeah, what's the point of doing it?
And play is important, and it's another way to unwind and get that play and that recreation in your life without it involving drugs and alcohol.
Totally. This is something I've been asking a lot of our experts as we come kind of towards the end, get ready to wrap up, and that is looking back at your young self, that big old age-old question of we built a time machine. Here it is. We've done it. We've achieved it. You get to go back and tell them something that will dramatically increase their quality of life and help them. That one golden piece of advice. I imagine yours would be stop giving out medical advice about vodka, but I'm going to let you decide.
That's a lot of fun.
But what would you tell your younger self as they were entering this phase of life, as they were going out there with all the wisdom you've accumulated in the time since? What's the thing you would say?
Well, I would say get off social media.
Okay.
Even though I didn't have it, to me, it's like the bane of society. Yeah. When it's used to that compare and despair kind of a thing, I think it's really contributing to a lot of mental illness. Other than that, I would say common sense. College is a petri dish. Keep your room clean, and you know, stay away from people who are sick.
Sandals in the shower?
What's that?
Wear sandals in the shower?
Sandals in the shower, condoms, and hand sanitizer.
All in the shower. All in the shower.
All in the shower.
Those are just terrible showers.
Or anywhere you need them.
Anywhere you need them, yes. Yeah.
Very sound advice. I think I would benefit from that as well. I mean, this is a tough question. I mean, I think I would tell my younger self to trust that your authentic self is enough and is good. I think that is one thing that so many students struggle with, especially early on. I mean, college is a time where you're figuring out your identity, right, and you're kind of having new autonomy. And I think that there's so much questioning: am I good enough? Is this good enough? And I think just being your authentic self is going to be your best self, and people will love you for that. So that's better.
That's better.
Well, I don't know. And hand sanitizer.
What he said.
I have a million questions, but we're going to have to save them for next year because we're running out of time here. I really appreciate both of you coming and taking the time and sharing all of your expertise and all your advice and stories. It's been so much fun having you here. I want to thank you guys for being a great audience and hanging out with us. If you haven't caught our other parts of the series yet, buildseries.com, they're up there right now. You can see our other talks and our other experts as well. But at this moment in time, I want to make a ridiculous amount of noise because it is time to thank Dr. Karen Latimer and John Fredrickson for being here. Please, guys, put your hands together. Dr. Karen Latimer, John Fredrickson, one more time.